experiences to sort of create experiences and create an environment of collaboration and meaningful business dialogue and growth. This month, our session is on AI. AI is definitely a buzzword. A lot is happening in the AI world, and a lot of people want to use that and leverage that to run their existing business and other things that they want to do in their lives. So we've brought Mohammad Bhai Kachwala, who is a data scientist by profession. He's also an entrepreneur and one of the founders of a company known as Circle Living, which is a US-based home goods brand company. Um, his core experience sort of lies in applying data science to healthcare and genomics, but he's deeply passionate about using tools like ChatGPT to sort of solve real life problems, mainly for small businesses that do not have large teams or resources. With that, I would like to pass it on to Mohammad Bhai. But before that, I would also like to mention that there's a feedback survey that is going to come on your screen right now. We request you to please scan that QR code and get that feedback in now, because a lot of people may leave the webinar early for any reason. Once the seminar ends, once the session ends, there will be some time for Q&A as well. However, you can also send me or Hussein by directly any questions that you may have during the session. But there will be a session after the webinar as well. And if anyone wants to stay back for a little longer as well, the speaker will be happy to stay. With that, Mohammed Bhai, over to you. Mohammed Bhai, you need to unmute yourself. Give me 1 second. Okay.
Sorry, classic Zoom mistake. Can you guys hear me okay now?
Yes.
And can you see the screen as well with the QR code? Okay. All right. So first of all, thank you so much, Josefa Bhai and the entire team of Tijarat Arabia and Houston for giving me this opportunity. We'll get started. So let's do this. Okay. So we are here mostly to talk about ChatGPT, and this is just a brief introduction of what exactly ChatGPT is. So think of all the knowledge that is out there known to humans and mankind. Take all of it, give it to a computer, and make it learn everything. And what you basically get is ChatGPT. It can answer any question that we already know an answer of, and it can answer it in different languages. It can understand different languages and all of those things. And it can do much more than that. And that's something that we'll discuss today in the meeting. My main aim for people attending today, if you're not already doing this, is basically start asking questions to AI tools like ChatGPT or Gemini or any of those LLMs that are out there. And you can ask anything and you can ask everything. That's the main goal. That's the one message that I want everybody to get from this talk today, is that you have to ask ChatGPT if you have any question. So the simplest question is, why use ChatGPT? So over the past time, we have seen the computers were introduced, internet came about, then the phones came about, and now we have AI. With time, AI is basically going to become an everyday technology, if it not already has. And everybody will be using it because it's going to become an integral part of our lives. If you've not already started doing it, then the time is right now. I have a very famous quote from Jensen over here, who's the NVIDIA founder, that you're not going to lose your job to AI. You're going to lose your job to someone who uses AI, right? So basic idea is start using ChatGPT. So what we're going to do in the session today is we're going to keep it simple. There are many technical aspects to AI and generative AI that are out there. So the figure on the on the left is showing you many different tools that are out there which fall in many different categories. And there are very sophisticated tools which can do very sophisticated tasks. But the aim for today's talk is we're going to keep it very simple. And we're going to try and use ChatGPT to solve simple problems, especially related to business. And that's what I'm going to try and present. I'm going to show you how at our own company in our daily lives, we try and use ChatGPT to solve simple problems. And then you can take these problems and you can think of classifying it into a specific business category as needed, right? So we're going to talk about what the problem is, what's the prompt that we gave ChatGPT, what is the output that ChatGPT gave us, and how it was helpful. Just to give a quick introduction about myself again, I am a data scientist by training. I've also started doing entrepreneurship, and I was one of the early users of ChatGPT mainly for coding, but I quickly realized that it can do so much more, and then we started using it for our commerce business also. So this is the brand that we are trying to build our company on. Um, Hopefully, it's going to be successful. We'll see how it goes. But the most important thing is no matter what happens, we've realized that how important AI and specifically ChatGPT is in the entire process of building a brand. So the founders of our company is myself, my wife, Fatima, and then ChatGPT has been such an important part of the entire process that I would want to call it as one of our co-founders. In fact, it is one of the most hardworking co-founders that we have. It is always available. It just costs $20 a month. So the subscribe version of ChatGPT, which I think definitely everybody should get. Even though the free one is great, the paid one is awesome, and it's pretty affordable. And honestly, it's one of the co-founders that is probably smarter than both of us, right? So I'm going to show 8 use cases in the entire talk today. This is the first one, just for humor, that I've been constantly asking ChatGPT to help me making slides, and in a lot of different ways. I ask it to make one of the slides over here. So this is how it thinks that me and my wife look, which is funny, but I think it's pretty close. At least they are not. So these are not real individuals, like these are just made up images. So that's actually one of the applications of ChatGPT, text to image, and that's one of the use cases. But another very interesting and very important use case, which I hope most people are already using, if not, then please start doing it, is you can give it any kind of document. It can be an Excel sheet, it can be a PDF, it can be any format. If you don't know what format it is, then ChatGPT will tell you what format it is. You upload it and then you ask questions. So one of the very early things that we did for this presentation is we had asked you guys to fill in a survey of different questions, like whether you use ChatGPT, why you want to attend the session, etc. We simply took that Excel file, we gave it to ChatGPT, and then I asked the following questions. Can you help me understand the Excel file? Then, based on what the results it gave me, I gave it another prompt. And those are the serial prompts that I gave it to really try and understand what is the audience that is attending this talk today, for example. And then it can actually make figures for you. So just to get a sense that there is a wide range of age people that are trying to attend this seminar today, there are probably equal number of professionals and business owners and people who are just exploring or trying to become businessmen who are trying to who are attending this talk today. And one of the main things they want to learn is how to start or grow a business, make better decisions, and how really ChatGPT can help in this entire process. So that was the use case one, just giving it an Excel file and asking it to make interpretations and graphs out of it. Here is a very real use case that I want to show you guys, that where we use ChatGPT. So we had a problem in which we had a container that was stuck in a specific place and we were trying to get it released. And here is an email from somebody who's not a native English speaker and who's using a lot of shipping related language to us. And it was very difficult for us to understand what's going on. So one of the best use cases of ChatGPT, a simple use cases, is not only writing emails, but also trying to make sense of emails that somebody else is sending you. So in this particular example, we gave it the entire email. We said that, okay, the grammar over here is very confusing. There are shipping related terms. It's broken English. Please, can you try and help us understand what's going on and what this person is trying to tell us? So it takes that, it first of all very nicely and correctly interprets the different abbreviations that are there, which are related to shipping, right? Like freight forwarder or shipper of letter of indemnity. And it also gives a summary that basically in this email, the person is talking to another person and saying that please release the goods, and then our company Circle Living will go ahead and pay whatever is necessary. Again, a very good, very practical use case which can help anybody and everybody. This does not only have to be related to business; it can be related to anything, or to any topic, basically. So moving on to one of the other use cases. So Circle Living is our home goods brand, and we actually started it from scratch. We just had an idea, basically, that we're interested in the textile business. We had a good partner back in Pakistan who would do good manufacturing for us, and we were interested in goods that are related to luxury living, like luxurious bed sheets and towels. We knew this much, but we didn't know anything else. So one of the first things you wanted to do is, okay, let's see what is out there. What is the market for this particular product, and what is it that people are already selling? Again, one of the very important use cases that ChatGPT can be very helpful. So the prompt I'm showing over here is a combination of many small prompts that we use, and I've just combined it over here for brevity purposes. But the main idea is we are asking ChatGPT to go out there and do market research for us and competitive analysis. We're asking it that, can you give us the top 5 brands out there which are selling bed sheets and towels in the luxurious category? What are the typical prices? What are the different materials they use? And then there are more technical terms, one that we are very familiar with when it comes to bed sheets, for example, thread counts. So can you do this market research for us and give us an answer? So I'm just showing a very simple table over here. Of course, it gave us a much more detailed report. And we not only blindly believed ChatGPT, we also went back and we did our own research, and we found that it was very accurate in catching all this information. So ideally, you would typically hire somebody to do this for you, or you would pay a lot of money to get these reports made, depending on what product you want to do market research on. But again, with the help of AI and ChatGPT, you can do it by yourself much faster and in a much cheaper way.
Just wanted to ask one thing. I've been receiving some messages. Is everyone able to see the slides? Can someone please respond if they're able to view the slides? Okay, so I am getting responses from everyone that they are able to. Okay, thank you.
Was there any other questions so far?
Yes, there was one question. Someone asked, like, is the file upload for paid version of ChatGPT?
Yes, yes. So everything I'm showing over here is for the paid version, and I highly recommend people to get it. I mean, if we can afford $20 subscription of Netflix, I think we can definitely afford this also. And it can help in so many different ways. This is not only limited to business, it is practically you can be used for a lot of different tasks. So absolutely worth paying that $20 per month. All right, moving on. So here is another example. And you can argue that market research for bed sheets and the initial one where we are just taking a survey data and dumping it to ChatGPT and asking it to make interpretation sounds easy. In this particular use case, we are actually giving it more complex and more industry related information. So, in our process of building Circle Living, once we got that market research done, we verified it. We actually got samples from these top brands. We sent it back to Karachi and we got a lot of lab tests done on those materials and we got reports back, right? So, those reports are pretty complicated. They have information related to textiles. One of the first things we did was we uploaded those reports to ChatGPT and told them that okay, these are lab reports of materials from top brands. Um, can you make sense of it? And then it has complex terms like warp, weft. Can you try and make sense of these terms to us? And there was a key thing that we are very used to is called thread counts, and it was not there. And we asked ChatGPT, can you please use this information and give us a thread count for all these different lab reports that we are giving you? So here is a result. One of the results that it gave us, the result has something called as warp and weft counts. It basically explains what warp and weft counts are. So warp are the threads which go top to bottom, weft goes left to right. And when you basically add up these two things is something that we get and which we're very used to and familiar with is thread count. Now, a lot of companies out there use thread counts as 1,000 and 2,000. Don't believe them. They are not accurate. They are manipulating the numbers. This is the true information that we actually got from lab results. And again, in this case, AI is acting as a textile expert and it understands all of this information pretty well. So again, a very, very good and very important use case. Moving on to the next one, I think this is one of the most crucial things which really helped us. Typically, this would take a lot of effort and time and expertise if you want to do it in a proper way. Is once you know what is the product that you have, how much of the product should you get, right? What once you get the cost price of the product, you know, um, there are so many overhead costs, there are so many operational costs that go into an e-commerce brand. So we are trying to build an e-commerce brand over here. So what are those costs? And these are very complex and complicated terminologies that are sometimes involved in these things. So of course we did have information related to e-commerce from one of the partners that we are working with. They have an Excel sheet which calculates all of this. But even though if you have the information, if you have the calculator, an Excel sheet with you, it's still very difficult to get used to it and punch in numbers, and it can be very time consuming. One of the things we did was we took our product information that we had finalized. We took a calculator Excel sheet like this, gave both of these Excel sheets to ChatGPT, and then asked ChatGPT to do all these calculations for us. So, based on a certain amount of budget that we have, what is the quantity that we want to order, right? How much should we price based on profitability, the competition, and the cost price? How much capital do we actually need to have a decent start? So again, this was a very long chat with a lot of these questions that we asked. And again, it was always there to answer. It always available. That's why we call it one of our co-founders. So one of the results I'm showing over here that we actually went into the details saying that okay, please tell us based on the market what are the best colors out there which people prefer. Should we get a uniform batch? Should we get more of white? Should we get more of blue? Should we get more of gray? What are the different colors that people like in towels based on the all the information that is out there in the market, right? So we kept on asking all of these questions, and it was basically giving us personalized answers based on what we want to do. And we finally reached a point where we decided the exact amount of bed sheets and bath sets that we want to order. Also, one important thing over here is we had also, as I mentioned, we had already given it a cost price for all of these products. So we did tell it that, okay, please keep this cost price in your mind. There is a certain range that we want to be in. Please don't make us an inventory list of $1 million. We don't have that kind of money. We are limited on budget. So keeping that budget in mind, try and calculate these numbers and give us a detailed report. And it did that beautifully. So, just to summarize this specific use case for financial projections and also execution plan is, we also gave it the typical volume sizes that containers come in. So you can have a 20 feet container or a 40 feet container, for example, and then you can calculate it as something as cubic meters in this case. So we said, okay, we want a smaller container. How much of goods you think it can hold. So there are so many parameters going on. There's quantity of towels, how much we can fit in a container, how much will it cost, how are we going to sell it, right? How much should we sell in a certain time frame so that we are profitable? How much time will it take to sell all of those goods? When is the next time that we should go ahead and already place an order for the next container, right? When do you think we'll reach break even? What is going to be our cash flow? So we asked all of these complex questions to it, and it kept on giving us detailed reports. And just for your information, we actually went ahead, we picked this report, we went to some of the Tijarat al Rabia folks in Houston. We got it verified from them. They are themselves business owners, and they they are CPAs, and they are very well familiar with this, and they approved, right? It's like, this is a very good job done. And again, me being a data scientist, my wife being a software engineer, it was difficult for us. It was a financial task, but ChatGPT really helped us in navigating this. And again, a very fantastic use case of how one can use the simple AI to get things done in small businesses. So I'm gonna go on into some more use cases, but I would want to pause over here and see again if Josefa Bhai, if anybody has any questions that they want to get answered.
Yeah, I think one thing that we should mention, or one of the participant also highlighted, is how safe and secure it is. Obviously, it's an obvious sense, but we want you to relay that in terms of like sharing or uploading any sort of secure documents, confidential documents. How would you advise on that?
All right, so that's a tough question. Um, Typically, what happens is whenever you are asking or uploading a question to ChatGPT, the information is actually getting relayed to a server somewhere that you don't even know where it is, right? And there's always a chance that that server can be hacked and you can lose your information. And ChatGPT can also use your information for training. So there is an option in the ChatGPT version where you can go and switch it off, saying, okay, do not use my information for your training, and it will not do so. But in terms of how secure the data is, well, honestly, anything you put out there, right? Even if you're uploading a file through your email, if you're uploading a file in OneDrive, it is leaving your computer and it is going to some server that you have no idea where it is. And there is a good chance that it is going to be hacked, right? And that happens all the time. So my answer to that question is, it is you the risk is as much as putting your information in an email or on a drive. It is as much as risk as that there is not, it's not more, and or it is not less, right? So if you're comfortable putting things in an email, I think you should be comfortable in uploading documents to ChatGPT also. That's what I believe. And I have given it all sorts of
Yeah.
confidential information, but I think you have to be a good judge in that case for yourself. This is all.
Yeah. That's very correct, appropriate response. I think there are. I don't want to derail you from your overall presentation as well. But I think the main gist of it is in terms of like when based on your scenarios and use cases that you're showing is like how good of a prompt that we provide or we input, that's the output we are going to receive. One of the interesting question is that based on the new tariffs and all the new how updated ChatGPT is in order to provide the right results. And the other question is like how do we make sure that the responses received from ChatGPT are accurate, and who gets them?
So I'll answer those questions in that order. First of all, again, if you're using the paid version, I think the free version also does this, but the paid version does a much better job. Is even though the models themselves are not very updated, and if you ask a very recent question to it, it will actually go on the internet, Google it for you, get the latest information, and answer you accordingly, right? So, in terms of time sensitive things, it can at least be as accurate as much information there is out there. So, just to give an example, as soon as Trump announced tariffs, that's one of the things I went and asked ChatGPT, okay, what do you think about it? And then it was able to get the most recent, most accurate information and relay it back to me. So that is one question answered. Um, the second one, in terms of accuracy, I think it has gotten much better than what it was before. But of course, depending on what the information is, you have to make sure that you go back and check. And there is no harm in telling it that, okay, I don't think I believe this answer. Can you give me references? So whenever it is giving you an answer, you can ask it for references and it will actually go back and tell you the document or the link from which it got the answer. Now, even in that case, sometimes it'll give you a reference, and if you go and check the reference, that information is not there. So even it can do a mistake over there. But I think overall, in terms of accuracy, I think it has gotten much better. And in the paid version, when you ask it a question, there is a chain of things it does. So it actually rephrases your questions. It is reasoning with itself what it should be doing, and in you can actually see the whole flow of information. So you can see that how it is coming to that conclusion and have more confidence in your answer. And then the last one I want to address is that Josefa Bhai mentioned, good prompting. So initially, I would say that that was a very important thing, that you have to ask it, give it good prompts. But with the most latest updates that are out there, I think the trick is, it's okay if you don't have a perfect prompt at the start, right? But you keep on asking the questions again and again to it. So eventually, what will happen is, over a course of, let's say, 10 questions, now you have a finally good prompt that you have given it. Like if you compile those 10 and if you put it in a single prompt, then it's a good prompt, right? But it's difficult to have that entire question in your head right from the start. So it's okay, you ask it piece by piece, and then you can compile, you can ask actually ask Chat GPT to compile all the prompts and prompt it again, and then it will give you a good answer. And one of the more important things that now it has started doing is, sometimes you don't know all the questions. So what it does is, once you ask it a question, it actually gives you choices at the end. And we can take a look at it, saying that, okay, based on this information, what is the next thing you want me to do? Do you want me to do this? Do you want me to do this? You want me to do this? And sometimes it can actually give you better questions than you would have yourself, right? So I think, circling back, the main idea is that, ask. As long as you're asking Chat GPT, it can give you all the answers that you need. Mm, all right, I think I'm going to move forward, and then we can again come back to the questions if you need to. So, in my day-to-day life, with my phone in my hand and a Chat GPT logo, any question I have, I press the app, I hit the mic button, I start asking it questions, it converts my voice into text, and then it starts answering my question. This is something that I do many number of times in a single day. So including myself and a lot of people that I've spoken to in the Jamaat and outside in work, there's always a question that people keep thinking of. Okay, I have X amount of money. What should I do about it? Where should I invest? So I actually ran one of these scenarios with ChatGPT, saying that, okay, I have a person who is going to retire now. They have a sum of money that they're going to get, for example, $200,000. What they should do? Should they invest it in real estate for passive income? Should they invest? Should they just buy gold and see what happens over time? Or they should try and do a business. So in this case, I'm asking it about a specific business called car rental business, an app called Turo. So what I'm showing on the right is something that Turo advertises, that hey, if you have one car, you can make $10,000. If you have two cars, you can make $32,000. If you have nine cars, you can make $100,000, right? So that is something that they advertise. But what I did was I actually went to ChatGPT and I started asking questions. All right. And one of the great powers of ChatGPT is that you can ask it very focused, very personalized questions. I was like, okay, I want to start the Turo business in Houston area. What do you think? What is the flow? What does the market say? What cars work best? What how for what price can I buy these cars? What is going to be, so one of the issues with cars is that over time it's going to lose value. So which cars lose how much value? Run all of these complex things and then come up with, okay, what is going to be my return of investment if I buy 10 cars, right? How much do I have to get involved in the business? What if I hire somebody else to do the operations, right? So ask it all of these different scenarios, and then at the end I was like, okay, if this is the number, what if I had just gone ahead and bought gold with all of that money? What would be my returns at the end of 3 years or 5 years? Or what if I would have bought real estate, right? You can have this conversation with ChatGPT, have ask it very those complex questions. What I'm showing over here is a very summarized version of that entire conversation. Believe me, it was much more complicated. Like I actually, there was a time where I actually picked up cars from Carvana and posted the links to it and asked it, okay, is this a good car? Should I buy it? I went to that much detail. But just to give you a gist of it, like it says that Turo can make 8 to 12%, gold will give you 5 to 6%, real estate will give you 7 to 9% over your. And this is specifically, it is using for gold and real estate, it is using historic data for the last 5 years, is what I told. But we know in the last 5 years, a lot of things happened which fluctuated a lot. So then you can go ahead and say that, okay, instead of using last 5 years, can you please use last 10 years or last 15 years? And it can very quickly do this and give you the information. It was based on my knowledge about it. I think it was giving me an inflated number, especially for the Turo returns. So I said that, okay, in this particular scenario, I don't think you've accounted for the amount of time I have to put in there, or I have to hire somebody to do that, right? Like you have to, in the Turo business, you have to go and deliver the cars to wherever people want it to be or go to the airport. If you account for all of those things, now can you tell me what my return of investment is going to be? And then you see it actually drops down the range to 6 to 9%. So no matter what Turo is advertising on their website, right? If you factor in a lot of those things, then it's actually pretty less. I mean, and then it's up to the user whether you want to get into it or not. And by the way, there are Reddit posts out there where people are doing this across different states and making a lot of money. In fact, that's one of the reasons it prompted me to have this conversation with ChatGPT. But the main idea over here is you can actually have it work out such complex scenarios. And of course, once you have this information, you want to go further deeper, do your fact checks, and then make your decisions. But you can do this. I probably did this in in a morning in like 30 minutes while I was doing something else, simultaneously asking ChatGPT questions. So it is that useful. Okay, I'm gonna shift again. I'm gonna take a pause. I'm gonna ask Jose Bhai if there is any more questions regarding this particular scenario or anything else.
Nothing related to this, but just one question came up like, is ChatGPT the only tool, or other tools like Copilot and Adobe AI also are sort of beneficial for any other things that people want to do?
So overall, I think even for things like this, all of those tools are good. Gemini is good, ChatGPT is good. Adobe will be very specific to things related to Adobe products. Copilot also in general is good, and it is more technical on the side. And as I mentioned at the beginning, like there are very complex, very innovative ways in people are using AI. Like AI can basically drive your car also, right? But we are not talking about those scenarios. We're just talking about very simple day-to-day stuff and business related stuff which you can do with simple tools. I personally use the paid version of ChatGPT the most, so I have most information about it. But as far as what I can tell, the other tools are also doing pretty good. And there is enough information out there which will tell you that, okay, if you are trying to do a very specific task, there is a better tool than ChatGPT which can be used. So for making websites or creating contents, there are much better tools out there which do better job than what ChatGPT can do. All right, I'm gonna go to my last example over here. Um, This is a very specific use case related to a software product. So my wife has been working on a startup app, especially for mothers. It's called Kinship. They literally had their first protocol, which came out, and it is for limited users right now, just 100 users. But hopefully, they want to go big. It's an app for moms, and they can use it to connect, right? um I'm not involved in this at all. It's mostly my wife and her other team that works on it, and they have the app together. But we usually talk about this, and whenever we are having these conversations, I take my phone out, I ask ChatGPT some more meaningful questions, and I'm going to show an example of that over here. So there is a point in which where we really want to test, we want to see how this app can perform, and then we really want to start with a very small area. So let's say, for example, we want to start with the zip code of 7743. So we wanted to just get some basic information, right? how many what is the population of people that live in this zip code? How many of them are mothers, right? How many of them are already using local Facebook groups or WhatsApp groups or any kind of playdate circles that they have? um, is there any other app which is doing something similar to this app, right? um, we were asking all of these questions, and it was doing a very good job, a fantastic job in answering these things. So it was very correctly able to go and get the census information from the correct sources in the particular zip code, give us an idea of, okay, how many moms are actually there, how many of them are actually looking for help in terms of connecting with other moms and stuff like that, right? So this is the idea and the problem in the prompt that we use. This is just an example prompt, right? And this is the answers that it gave us, right? So, and again, we went back and we checked this with the real information that is out there from the government, right? Like, based on the census data. So we were also asking it, okay, what should be an ideal group size? How should we go about in launching these app in this particular zip code if we want to, right? Should we spend on ads in Facebook ads? And in that case, what should be our budget? How much should we be spending on it? And it really helped us in getting all of this information and coming up. It can actually go ahead and give you a detailed plan for the next 30 days, right? And again, that's something that we are currently working on. So that's the end of all the use cases I have. I just have a couple of more slides over here. So coming back to the question about accuracy and what ChatGPT can do, but I think it's very important for us to also know that what ChatGPT cannot do. So ChatGPT and all those LLM models out there know whatever most humans know. So if you go and ask it a question like, what is the cure for glioblastoma? It is not going to give you an answer. So glioblastoma is a cancer for which there is no cure, right? It is not capable of doing that. But what it can do is, if you ask it, can you please explain me glioblastoma in simple terms? And it will give you a very good answer. And like the answer below over here, that it's a very aggressive brain cancer, it grows and spreads very fast. There is no cure for it yet. Scientists are working on it, and it is one of the toughest cancers to cure. So it can definitely do that. Again, it does not know the answers which most humans don't have answers to, but it definitely knows more than a single human, right? So a good place to go and talk to and get answers for, again, anything and everything in lives, and it can really help you and guide you in many different ways. That was my last slide. We are back to the QR code again. If people have not already done it, please scan it, and please help us in the survey and let us know of what did you think of the talk today, and if you want to give any feedback. I think in the next follow-up email, I will ask them to share my email address also, if anybody wants to get in touch and ask me specific questions, or discuss any of their questions that they have, and we can do that as well. And that's just the disclaimer slide from Tijatul Rabia. All right.
There is one question in terms of like you mentioned that you did use ChatGPT a lot specifically for your business research. However, the question is that like, would you or have you used it for selling your products or marketing or any such thing of that nature which can have help you generate revenue going forward?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. This is probably just, I would say, about 20 or 25% of how much we use Chat GPT for business. So again, as I said, Chat GPT for content creation is a completely different ballgame, right? And we have done it, we have used it for that. Like there are times that we've gone in and said, okay, can you give me an image of a room with bed sheets in it, and use that in our marketing material. Um a lot of times we have our own um material that we give it to it, and we ask it to diversify it. So we have one shot of a particular product, we say, okay, can you take this shot and give me something similar? So from one image we are making 10 images, right? So yeah, definitely we are already using Chat GPT and other, as I said, there are other more sophisticated tools to do these things. We are using it for that. So content creation, I think, is one of the very big things that AI models can help with, and they are doing a very good job over there. Um, in terms of, I think we have an entire website that was made by AI to begin with. So it would do everything for you, and it would have placeholders, and all you have to do is go back and just change the content if you want to, right? So we use a website service called 10web, 10web, that we have used, but there are, again, many more out there. Um, in terms of marketing, so one thing that we've definitely directly used ChatGPT for is search engine optimizations, right? So you can give it text and it can optimize your content so that the keywords are there which have high rate and stuff like that. We have also used it to refine our posts that we're going to be putting on Instagram and Facebook. And it can actually just give you very simple tips, right? Okay, like this color is not good, try and make it this color, and things like that. So it can actually make the entire posts for you, or it can help you in making a good post also. So yeah, we do use different AI tools and Chat GPT for a lot of these purposes as well. But again, I think that's probably one of the talks that we'll do in the future, where we go in much more detail of how exactly these AI tools can be used for marketing. And I'm sure there are better experts than me that are out there who will do a better job. I think Hossein Bhai Jabalpurwala, for example, uses it a lot and would be a great person if he gives a talk on that. Yeah.
Yeah, if anyone has any other questions, please feel free to unmute yourself. You'll be able to do that. There's one more question that came through that in terms of like people who do not have coding or software development experience, um, the question is specifically, can they use ChatGPT to build a website or an app? Or do you suggest there any other specific AI tools for that?
Yes, I just mentioned one for website building that we use ourselves called 10 Web, 110 WEB, 10 Web. And yeah, if there is a lot of tools out there, there are no code tools. Now, depending on what kind of software that you want to make, it can do it, and there are different tools for different software tiers. Again, just go to ChatGPT and ask the same question that you asked me. What are the different good AI tools out there to make softwares? And it will not only give you an answer, it'll give you the tools, it'll give you the links, and it'll give you much better information than me. So I think that's my message to you guys, that start asking it, start treating it somebody that you can always go to and keep on asking as many questions as you need, and it'll help you out in all possible ways, right? So ChatGPT itself, and to give a short answer, ChatGPT itself cannot make a software for you, but it can give you all the steps in detail of how you can make one, right? Anybody else?
The question is, would you recommend ChatGPT option on WhatsApp, or is that too underpowered? Didn't understand your question, Mustafa Bhai. If you want to unmute yourself and ask.
Yeah, I think I was just mentioning there is an option to like people have a this going online and trying to sign up for ChatGPT, etc. There's an option I think so that I'm not sure if it's ChatGPT or if it's some other GPT where you can start asking these things directly on WhatsApp. It's a
Yeah,
good like icebreaker to kind of get started. So just wanted to know if you had any idea if that is not as powerful as the paid versions of what you say on ChatGPT itself,
So,
but it's a good icebreaker at least.
yeah. So WhatsApp basically uses Meta AI, is the backend LLM model. It is very powerful. In fact, there are scenarios in which they have shown that Meta AI is actually more powerful than ChatGPT itself. Um, I think one thing that I would want to tell people is, so there are two things, right? There is the LLM model itself in the back end, and then there is the app that you use to interact with the LLM model. I think in my personal case, so of course, if you just want to ask questions and get answers, Meta AI on WhatsApp is great. But if you actually want it to do things where it is taking an Excel sheet, it is interpreting it for you, it is giving you graphs, it is giving you slides, it is giving you images, I think an app like ChatGPT is good for that. And it is free. It is very easily accessible on your phone as well, right? So I hope that answers your question. But yeah, WhatsApp does have Meta AI, and it can still do a pretty good job as much as ChatGPT can.
awesome. Does anyone have any other questions? Not, we can wrap this up and give you 5 minutes back.
Sorry, Mohammed, I had a question. I
Yes.
was the one who asked about the software development. So when you use a ChatGPT or any AI to get the coding, then like if you're not a software developer, I mean, do you need to hire a software developer or somebody? How would you authenticate that the coding is authentic? Like, do you understand what I'm asking here?
Of course.
Because okay.
Yeah. So I mean, it really depends on what you're trying to accomplish, right? So let's take an example of a very simple software like a calculator, right? You ask a AI tool to make a calculator for you, and you start doing, first of all, you start using it yourself, like 2 plus 2, 4. If it is doing that, then it is working correctly, right? It is done what you want it to do, and you have the interface and it's working correctly. So that's the easiest way. So even though if you don't have any technical knowledge, you have the knowledge of what you expect the software to do, and you can test it out yourself, right? No matter what it is doing in the back end, at least it is doing what you're asking it to do. So that's usually the starting way of doing it. I don't think, as I mentioned, if you're doing much more complex tasks of getting an app made, right, you will definitely have to get involved and talk to software engineers. I think that expertise is still very important. But imagine going, let's say you want an app made for your business, right? There are two possibilities. You have no idea about the software and you go have the conversation with a software developer. Or what you have done is going before to the meeting, you have asked basic questions to ChatGPT and just gotten some basic information of what goes into the making an app, right? If you do that and go, you're basically going in the meeting with the software developer where you're much more informed, you're more knowledgeable about this topic that you had no idea about, right? So getting more complex software made by AI tools comes later. I think you can also use it for simple tasks like this. But of course, at some point, depending on what you're trying to get made, you do have to get a software engineer involved. And how much time that they have to put in, right, is something that you have power on if you are using these AI tools, right? Again, I'll give you a very realistic example. So for the app example that I showed you, the mom's app, right? It literally went live a couple of days back, and there was an issue that came up, and our developers are back in India, right? Um, we knew what the issue was, we didn't know what the solution was. Simplest thing, instead of trying to go and ask a software engineer, we asked ChatGPT, and it actually guided us. And we had the credentials and access. It guided us in the steps to go in the back end and go access something called as MongoDB and extract the information that we needed. So, and it did a pretty good job in that. So the software was built by software engineers, but ChatGPT and AI in this case gave us the power to at least go and get something meaningful out when they were not available, right? Um, I hope that answers the question.
Ahmad Bhai and Uzra Bhai, I can add a little bit of my experience to this, Amar. So I've used ChatGPT, data nikali ne, geolocation data nikali ne. I asked ChatGPT, can you plot it on a map? So it said in the back end, and I have $20 version of it. Back end, my pote API install ki thi on the backend server, and it exactly wrote a script for me. Okay, I cannot potentially do that, but do this step by step on your computer, on your command prompt, and then run the script. And what it did is basically akho US no geolocation mane joti thi कि यहाँ कहाँ हमारी यहाँ locations छे. I was doing a customer analysis, right? And I was able to do that. So a small simple task that requires coding may not require. Jensen Huang, the NVIDIA and CEO, he said that in near future, there won't be any software engineers. Now it's too far fetched, but it's already happening. At Facebook, at Google, right? It has cut down a lot of work of software engineers. So it's too far fetched to say, okay, you can, but it will eliminate that. But a normal user can now, get that code developed, and you can design your front ends, by the way, website and front ends. There are other apps like Mohammed Bhai said, 10web. There are other webs that you can just copy paste the front end and say, Manu, exactly how much front end behind Apple, and it will write the code for you. So things are happening already. Just 2 cents of mine. Thank you.
Let me add to that if we have a little bit of time. I've used a product called Replit, and Replit is great because not only did it create the software and the front end and the website and the back end, it also gives me access to all the files so that, if there is a developer available later on, can go and change that code and access all the files and the database. and it doesn't need you to build the code in one place and then deploy it in another place. It lets you deploy that code. So replit.com, it's a $25 subscription, and it built me a software that developers had costed about $15,000 and 2 months. And it took me 2 nights of work and $25 to build that. And it's already in use. I was able to connect my Stripe account. I was able to connect, all the APIs from Google, a lot of these things, and it's a paid version of a product that I'm using.
What did you spell it as? Replit?
Replit, Replit, replit.com.
Okay, thank you, Mohsen bhai.
That's wonderful. I think that's the answer that we were looking for, Sandbhai. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I mean, as Marbhai said, I mean, software developers will be needed, but to me, it was $15,000, 2 months, 2 days, $25. Now, I have a software developer who will go in and tweak things if I get into issues, things like that, but that's an hourly charge, right? As opposed to an upfront cost. So building prototypes, building MVPs, I mean, things have changed. I would never hire somebody to build an MVP anymore. This would be the first choice. And it literally built a platform that's a working platform, right? I mean, users are using it. It's got a front end that is, displaying information in live public places. So it's getting really powerful out there.
There are two more questions. Anyone, by the way, the session was from 8 to 9. Anyone who wants to drop, please feel free to drop. People who want to hang out, the speaker will be here for a while. There are two more questions that are there. One question is, why did you select ChatGPT and not any other tool like Copilot? I'm sure that will be a whole separate session of like features and all that. We don't want to go, and I didn't want to respond to that by directly on the chat. So maybe you want to very quickly summarize in few seconds. And then the second question is, if we generate content from ChatGPT, do we have to worry about copyright issues? And that is also a very obvious answer, but can you answer, please?
Sure. So the copyright thing, no, I think most likely you will not get into any copyright issues. In fact, the latest version of ChatGPT has become sophisticated. If you actually ask it to make copies of copyrighted versions, it will say, no, I can't do that, and I'm not supposed to do that. So it is actually, there are some safeguards that have been put in place. Now, why ChatGPT? It is one of the first ones that came out, and I started using it and I got very familiar with it. So that's one of the reasons. I have used Gemini and the other ones out there. In my day-to-day experience, I've always ended up finding ChatGPT giving me the more accurate and answers that I like, right? So I think for now it's just personal preference and personal experience that I think it does a better job than a lot of those other tools out there. And this is for both. Like, I extensively use it for coding also at work related tasks, and of course the scenarios I presented here, and many other ways. And in most of those cases, I have seen that ChatGPT does a better job than a lot of those other tools out there. I would just say one more thing is that whenever you're doing those comparisons, like, it's not fair to compare a paid version of one software with the unpaid version of the other one. That paid version actually gives you much more privileges and power, um, and it makes it better. So I think whenever those comparisons are happening, we have to keep that in mind. And there is a whole world of people and world of websites out there which keep on doing these comparisons. If you're interested, I can post some links. They have many creative ways of evaluating these models and tools. But there's also a combination, as I said, there's a combination of the model itself and then the upfront tool. And I think, as if for now, and based on my experience, I think ChatGPT has done a much better job than a lot of those other tools out there.
So a lot of people have also asked about the recording. So we have recorded this session and we will upload it on our Tijarat Rabia website, and we can inform everyone about that. However, we will share the PowerPoint presentation through email, whoever registered on the link. If there are no further questions, we can end this session. Mohammed Bhai, any closing thoughts?
No, I think I just again would want to thank the entire Tijarat Rabia team for giving me this opportunity to talk, and everybody who attended and heard me. I hope you learned something new today. And the last closing statement again would be, if you're already using it, that's great. If you're not using it, start doing it. You can literally do it right now, and don't think about what AI will or will not answer. Just go ahead and ask and see what it does. And I think that is the most important thing, to just go ahead and ask it about many different things. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mohammed Bhai. Thank you for the entire Tijarat Rabia team, and thank you everyone for joining. Hope you all got great insights and would be very useful for you all. Thank you once again. Shukran. Khuda Hafiz.
Thank you.
Hafiz.